Hey lady, welcome to the Postpartum on Purpose podcast. If we haven't met, my name is Anne Marie. I'm wife to James and mom to 5 beautiful kids ages 9 and under with 1 miscarried baby. Here we see postpartum all the way from birth to the first year of life as a time of grit, growth, and grace. This is episode 81. Hi lady, I hope you're so well. Listen, I have many things I want to share with you today. Let's jump right into them. 2 updates up first. 1, I've talked in the past about using the Mira monitor and that I have been utilizing it to monitor return of fertility, which if you listen a couple of episodes back, you know that's happened. I've had my first period and now I'm in the middle of my first cycle after my period returning. And if you are in it right now or have experienced this before with previous children, you know that first couple of cycles back are usually not right into regular cycles. Usually you have longer-ish cycles and then slowly they regulate in terms of length. I am on day 17 or 18 right now of this first cycle after return of fertility. So after the first ovulation followed by the first period. And the mucus signs that I'm having are coming and going. Not unusual for postpartum, like I said. But it is frustrating because this is just a time of abstinence until I get that next ovulation and then have several days after that before the green light for intimacy. But I have been using Mira. I have received communication from a couple of different people who've listened to the podcast saying, oh, hey, I thought I'd like to try it too. Have you had good experience? I would actually, if you're trying to avoid pregnancy, I'd actually just press pause for a minute on purchasing the Mira if you haven't, or if you're considering doing that but haven't yet pulled the trigger, because I have a couple of concerns with it based on my experience so far. I have a meeting this upcoming week with the NFP FAM, which is Fertility Awareness Methods contact or liaison between the public and Mira. And I'm curious to see if she's able to answer the questions that I have. But I would actually just press pause. I was previously very, very optimistic about utilizing Mira for postpartum, trying to avoid pregnancy and trying to avoid pregnancy in general. And there's some things that need to be clarified before I could in good conscience say, yes, all systems a go, totally recommend. I'm not there right now, but I hope the conversation will be helpful that I'm going to have in a couple of days. Stay tuned on that one. And also, there is now a brand new website for the podcast, postpartumonpurpose.com. I would love for you to go and check it out. It's got links to the podcast, which if you're listening here, you don't need that. But I am now putting a little teaser quote into each episode going forward. And also we'll be linking to other related episodes you might enjoy. At some point in the future, I may figure out a way to auto-connect episodes. As in, if you enjoyed this, you might also enjoy episode, I'm just making this up here, 27 and 16 or 58. But in the meantime, I will manually be adding that to the description of each episode. And I think, I think that might be worth your time to hop over there if you're like, oh, I listened to that episode. I wonder what else she might recommend. That's something that will be on the website. And then it will need more organization in the future. But I'm putting all of the articles and podcast guest episodes that I've done, meaning where I've been a guest on someone else's podcast, all the articles I've written about postpartum, and then those interviews are going on the website as well. And I would just love for you to go and look around and then have that as something maybe tangible you could point friends to, especially maybe friends who might be tapped out on postpartum podcasts or podcasts in general, but perhaps do have questions about things generally during postpartum, might like a little bit deeper dive on certain topics. Yep, I would love for you to take advantage of that and check it out. And I'd also very much be interested in any feedback that you have. I think those are the updates. Let's move on to Free Things. And if you've been around for a minute, you know that Free Things is mental shorthand for 2 things. 1, reminding ourselves that no matter what's going on in postpartum, there's always something to be grateful for. And 2, that no matter how big our family or the size of our budget, a rich, meaningful, beautiful life is available to all of us. Free things this week are just all over the place. I'm really I'm really hyped about them. And I'm hyped about free things in general, but this week in particular I am. One, I'm purposefully going to be coy is not the right word. I am not coy about anything, but I'm purposefully keeping my cards close to my chest. But I am trying out something that I get emails at least once a week from someone saying, I want to be a guest on your podcast. And usually, do you know what that means? I don't have traditional podcast guests for interviews the way most people think of. But I got an email from this lady and she said, essentially, here's a pelvic floor and core exercise. I want to be careful with words that I'm saying because I don't want to give it away. But here's essentially a way to restore your pelvic floor and core at home that you would never think of. And she was exactly right. I would never think of it. But I said, give me access to your program for a month and I'll try it out and then I'll do a review. And I'm on day 12. I think today's day 12. I'm really enjoying it. I look forward to I look forward to telling you about it in a couple of weeks with its own review episode. And then something else also on Sunday, today's Wednesday as I'm recording, on Sunday I went to an open house for a friend who I've mentioned her before and she hosted a guest episode sometime in the last 6 episodes, Sarah Hawking with Magalit's Clinic, which is local-ish to where I am. But they had their formal open house for a new location on Sunday and they had door prizes and I feel about free things, obviously. I put my name down and then I got a text from her yesterday and she said, you have a free 30-minute muscle recovery session. And I didn't even know what that was. I just said, that's great, terrific, let's make plans for it. And she told me what it is, essentially, is just a feel-good session where you can work on any area that might be painful to you with different techniques that wouldn't be available to you at home. Like cupping is one example, and then scraping, she said, is another, just manual work. Anyhow, I'm going in tomorrow. I'm going in when Miss Louise, one of our Grandma Tribe members, comes every Thursday for an hour and a half. I'm going during that time and just thrilled to pieces to be experiencing some hopeful pain relief for my shoulder. Also, a free thing. I hope, as I'm saying these free things this week, I hope one of these things jogs your memory. Like, that free thing was relevant to my life this week too. And what I want to talk about now is that a friend texted me after Ash Wednesday Mass last week, and she said her family sits behind us in church, and her children are older than mine by several years. And she just said, hey, I offered my Mass for you. I just wanted to let you know. It is a challenge to go to Mass with lots of small children and to go to Mass with lots of small children during supper time, which is essentially when Ash Wednesday Mass was. I just wanted to let you know that I offered Mass for you. I prayed for you. And I thought, my goodness, could you have done anything kinder for me? This is not a close friend of mine, but it's somebody who I've prayed for and checked in with as she lost her own dad, actually a couple of months ago. And I've been checking in with her about once a week or every 10 days just to say, hey, I'm praying for you. Not asking for any deep, information or anything, but just I'm thinking about you. That's it. I just want you to know somebody is still thinking about you and the fact that you're still in pain, even though in a lot of ways the rest of the world has moved on from offering our condolences. That was really meaningful to me to have somebody who specifically thought of me and offered prayers to me. Another thing is that I am grateful for protection, for safety while we were driving, because God's honest truth is that when I was driving my son I was picking him up from piano lessons and merging onto a busy-ish road in Springfield, which is not terribly far from us. I didn't see, somebody was in my blind spot, so I was getting over, and I got over into their lane while they were in it, and they honked really hard, and I appreciated that because I didn't see them. I didn't. And I hope that's not relevant to you, lady, but if it is, I hope that you were also grateful for God's protection, his mercy, and even though the other person was angry, I get their anger, that they were in the right. I was in the wrong. And I am very grateful that we were all safe because I had 4 out of the 5 kids in the car with me at that time. Something else I am grateful for, and this is a small thing, but it was meaningful to me, when I went into Aldi while my son was at piano, uh, the cooler section was down. It was not working. And so all that includes all the fruit except for like two things that were on an end cap. And I know the manager fairly well. And so I just said to him, like, gosh, darn that cooler, or something like that. Like, looks like the cooler's having trouble. And he said, yeah, is there anything you need out of it? I was like, oh, well, I was going to get 2 bags of carrots. And he's like, let me go get them for you. And he did. He went and got 2 2-pound bags of carrots for me from the back of the store. And it just was like, man, thank you. I had already written it on my list for Hy-Vee. It wasn't a big deal, but just I really appreciated him going above and beyond in that way. That was, it was thoughtful. It was not necessary, but it was very thoughtful, very kind. And then right after that, this was just a day, I guess, which is good. This is good for me to be saying all these things and to remind myself of all the things that are so good, because there were other parts of it that were difficult that definitely don't qualify as free things in this, unless we're discussing free, just struggles, free stress. But also, we went to Walmart. We do not always go to every grocery store in town, but I go to the Walmart because they have 97-cent discounted bread. And I like to get 4 or 5 loaves if we can, if they have that many, which usually they do, for sandwiches during the week for lunches. Anyhow, I'm hustling in there with the 3 youngest kids. That was who I had with me. So 4-year-old, 2-year-old, and 8-month-old. And I didn't even get a cart. Nope, we're just walking straight to the rack that has all the discounted bread. And then we're walking straight up to the front of the store to the register. But the 2-year-old was carrying 2 loaves. They're like half a pound each. It's not heavy, but it was super cute because they're fairly tall and he's fairly short. And then same thing, the 4-year-old was holding 2, and then I was holding one of the baby. And this gentleman was driving around on his motorized scooter, and he just stopped and he smiled at them and he appreciated them. And he said, what good helpers you have. I said, yes, I've got the best. And then a little bit later, as we were checking out, he motored over in his scooter and he gave each of the boys a $1 bill for being good for candy. He said, and it was just, man, thank you. Gosh, thank you. Thank you, sir. And what else was I going to say? Oh, the last thing was that I had yesterday, I think, a Hinge Health. I've done an episode not too long ago on the Hinge Health app, just that I've appreciated it. But I did a video consult this week with one of the physical therapists because it was like Jiminy Christmas. I started this to work on elbow pain and then realized through a couple of friends that, hey, the elbow is actually probably not the originator problem. The originator problem is the back of your shoulder. And got to that point also with the Hinge Health therapist who checks in with me every, couple of weeks or whatever. And he had said, hey, let's do a video consult because it sounds like the problem is not in the elbow. Actually, it's coming from the shoulder. Let's figure something out. And that actually, I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful that with the new exercises that I'm going to be doing, he explained to me why the elbow isn't the problem, why the exercises that I was doing on my own, separate from the Hinge Health app, but just like things I thought were stretching, I'm saying that in quotation marks, were actually irritating further the pain that I was having instead of helping it. And I'm hopeful that we can make some progress on that front. All right, one small change, and then we'll get on to today's topic, which honestly won't take that long. There are just a couple of thoughts I wanted to offer for your consideration. One small change for me. We bought paper plates today, and I haven't bought them for probably a month or 6 weeks, which means we are using fewer paper plates, which means that we are getting to the part of postpartum, or maybe just having old enough kids to be washing dishes regularly, where we are able to move, I think, just into more, just not having to use paper, not having to rely on paper plates, but no, we've got routines down such that we can use the nice, sturdier plates that are a little fancier, a bit more elevated, if you will, which elevated is kind of a, I'm not sure if it's quite an accurate term when you're eating with 5 small children around you, but as elevated as it can be, I suppose. And part of that too is that we're also using far fewer napkins because we have been using cloth napkins. And once upon a time, I just thought, Jim, cloth napkins, give me a break. But my mom got, I don't know, probably 3 different sets. I think I have a cream, an off-white, and then a navy blue set, 6 or 8 of them. I don't know, she paid $1 or $2 for each set. But we've got a fair amount now, maybe maybe 18. And I just throw them in the wash. But we, I think, behave better when we use the cloth napkins. It seems like we behave better at the table. And we certainly aren't going through the cloth napkins the way that we were the paper napkins. Riddle me that one. I don't quite understand it. But it's a small thing, and yet it somehow makes a little difference to just how we approach the meal. I think, yeah, that's been good. That's been something we've been doing for, I don't know, a month or so now. And then one small change, what do they say? One small step for whatever, one giant leap for humanity. I think Cecilia started crawling 3 days ago. And then this morning she pulled to stand on her bed. So, she's flying. She's just flying. Craziness is happening over here. The topic I wanted to address just briefly today, just at a microcosm level, because as well as I, there are many resources out there, and there are many, many excellent resources for Lent. And I just wanted to offer a few things for you to consider in relation to Lent and postpartum specifically. And I know there's a fair amount out there about things like, be careful about your fasting, and you don't want to compromise your milk supply or get nutrient depleted, or just sort of cautions. And sometimes I think that can move over into this kind of, you probably shouldn't do anything extra or make extra resolutions because it just might be too hard. It might be stretching yourself too thin. And that can be, you know yourself, lady. You know yourself better than anybody. Certainly time and energy, and I think those two things primarily, time, energy, and then maybe other people's needs is an obvious third, can be stretched during postpartum, especially early postpartum, let's say the first couple months, such that, it may not be appropriate for you to add anything during this time. And in fact, I was reading something pointing out that really, if we are just attentive to the suffering that's already in our lives, particularly if there's some extenuating circumstance, like maybe your baby has medical issues, or perhaps you're having to heal from something, whether it's mental or physical, related to birth or postpartum, maybe there are built-in sufferings, so to speak. Of course, we all have built-in sufferings, but perhaps there are some unique or particular challenges that you are facing right now. And maybe the blessing of Lent or the focus of Lent for you is just trying to approach those sufferings more gracefully. And I don't mean gracefully as in like if you're dancing, just move more gracefully, but gracefully as in approaching them with more of God's grace. Maybe that's appropriate. And perhaps part of how you will do that, approach something more gracefully, is this other point, which I consider them like, could we hold both of them at the same time? And the other point or idea is this: what graces is he seeking to bestow on me to help me handle the things that are difficult about postpartum? Maybe the resolution or resolutions that we make, whether it's something we're adding or taking away during Lent, can be made with this idea of accepting the graces from his hands that he's offering, right? He's offering them. How can we open our hands to receive them? What are the graces he seeks to bestow on us in order to help us handle the things that are hard about postpartum? And that's a perspective shifts away from this is just one more thing, that whatever thing I'm doing during postpartum Lent is just going to be like a burden or weigh more heavily on me or stretch me too much, stretch me even further. But perhaps what is the thing that's going to help me unlock or receive the graces that he's seeking to give me so that I can better handle, so that I can better hold what is difficult about this time. And just one thought for that. And then this is it. That's all I wanted to offer for you. But perhaps in order to do that, perhaps in order to receive those graces that he seeks to bestow so that we can handle things during postpartum, Perhaps we can start by leading with love or starting from love. And what I mean by that is receiving Him. Receiving Him. The primary resolution, there are two primary resolutions I have for this Lent. One of them is that every single morning, like I said last week, I think, James and I, first thing, are listening to the Hallow app Pray 40 challenge. Just first thing, before we even get out of bed in the morning. Though sometimes I'm having to get out of bed to help somebody go to the bathroom who can't unzip his own pajamas. And then going back to bed to listen to it with James. But that's the first thing. And then the second thing is going to adoration just once a week. But both of those things, the idea is to start with love or to lead from love, meaning I'm receiving the words of the Father in Scripture. I'm receiving Christ's words that He gave us to Himself. And in adoration, just receiving the gift of His presence in order to help myself become open to the graces that He wants to give. So yes, those are things that we're adding in, I'm adding those resolutions into Lent, but it's not from the perspective of, oh yeah, this is just going to be one more thing, just one more thing to check off. But no, more thoughtfully than that. These are two ways that I've discerned to open myself to the graces that He wants to give. I hope that's helpful to you, lady. I'll talk to you next time.